Hi, welcome back. Today in the Dylan Rounds mystery case, we're going to be taking a look at one of the key suspects who appeared in court a few days ago, James Brenner. Now, briefly touched upon him previously, talking about how, if he's got a past history with crime and stuff, he could be unstable and it could be high chances of he's responsible for Dylan's outcome. Now, just recently, when in court, he was in his chains and stuff, Dylan's mum was there present, and the prosecutor was going on about, talking about Brenner's past history with some form of aggravated assault on a 70-year-old, as well as, I think, a fatal shooting too, and, in possession of firearms. They also brought up the point once again about Brenner asking some of his friends to keep hold of, I think, a muzzle barrel or some, related gun stuff for his own safety. Now, just simply looking at, Brenner's past history with crime, it's not exactly a good thing. Now, I know people can say when people go to prison, when people get involved in bad stuff, they can learn from their mistakes and grow as a person, etc., etc. But you got to take into mind the age of the individual and, the time of when the crime took place. If it was from a very young age or something and a bit of a troubled childhood, they might learn from the mistakes and turn into somewhat of a better person later on in life. But if they committed certain acts and certain crimes at an older age or repeated offender at an older age, it clearly shows they haven't learned and they probably never will do. And also you got to take into mind the severity of the crimes. Beating up a 70-year-old. Why? What's the point? Why would you do that? Plus the key point of taking a vulnerable person out. Does that mean Brenner is a coward? Does that mean his potential actions towards Dylan were done in a cowardly way? If we just visualized a potential situation, could it have been something like, with Brenner being present nearby because he's squatting, Dylan was going about doing his day-to-day stuff, whether there was a run-in or not, conflict or not, Dylan was doing stuff, and then what? He was blindsided maybe by Brenner, whether it be shot, because he's got firearms, or maybe hit on the back of the head or something and then dragged somewhere or placed in the car. You know what I'm saying? Because the boots were found behind a mound of dirt in the distance. You could say, well, why did the person not cover it up then? Make it a bit more hidden so it wouldn't seem as dodgy or suspicious. Well, it depends what Brenner's like. If he's reckless, he's got a reckless history in the past and he's been caught as well, then he's not going to change, is he? If it was like a serial killer that's very calculated and plans everything and doesn't get caught until many years on, then yeah, okay, maybe there's more chances of the person being a bit more sophisticated in how they act and go about. But with Brenner, he seems reckless just by his past action. So the same probably happened here, and that's why how it went. I mean, as for the vehicle itself, if anything did happen, let's say Brenner hijacked the vehicle whilst Dylan was inside of it, conscious or unconscious, there was no blood inside, or no reports of that at least, so not much could have happened there. If the boots, though, which are covered in some kind of blood stain, are in the distance, then where are we going there? Could Brenner have carried Dylan over that way and then finished him off or something, or hid him? Or was Dylan already over that way and then Brenner took him out? I mean, we can do some kind of map analysis, a proper one, and we will be doing that shortly. I mean, some people will be like, yeah, but the suspect is caught now, so it's over and done with. No, because it's not 100% for definite, because the courts are just still ongoing, obviously. Now, another important point to make note of, from what was said in the court case, Brenner did work with Dylan on the farm occasional times in the past. The reason why that stands out is because it does explain why they are friends, family friends, as what was said in one article, but it actually reinforces that theory I put forwards, the power dynamics. If Brenner is working for Dylan, or if Dylan has some form of power over Brenner, then maybe Brenner got frustrated at a certain point in time. Maybe Brenner, because he's reckless and somewhat careless, he was doing a bad job when farming, and Dylan might have been giving advice or telling him that he was doing something wrong and he needed to improve, to improve his work ethic and how he's performing. And maybe Brenner had enough of that and he got frustrated, and because of his reckless, out of control attitude, he thought, right, I'm going to get revenge on Dylan someday and shut him up because he's just a young 19-year-old. How dare he talk down to me? Do you see what I'm saying? That could be the case, and because from what we've seen with his past history and how he can act at times, anything is possible. Another important point to take from that, if Brenner has worked on the farm, then he will know the area fairly well, I guess. Like where to go, where the barns are, storage units maybe, where to find equipment, where to go for this, where to go for that, where to dispose of this. If someone works, like an inside job, someone does it from within. They know the location, they know the spots, they've got intel of the place, so they know what to do and what not to do. So someone like Brenner might know the best place to dispose of somebody or certain items. So if Brenner was responsible for the outcome of Dylan's disappearance, then Brenner, could be disposing like mine shaft or some kind of storage container. Who knows? But you get what I'm saying. Obviously, nothing's been 100% definitive, confirmed yet, but it's starting to reveal quite a few things, and it's also coming into play. My theories and my predictions, it's starting to slot in now in a way. So yeah. And in addition, it's like a two-way thing. Even if he's found guilty, will Brenner give the location of where Dylan is, whether it be his remains or him still being alive, captured somewhere? Will you ever know? So while you're still solving one thing, there is still another side to cover. Whether you do both at the same time or one first before the other, both are important, you know what I'm saying? Now, is there anything else to go off from this? Well, you may have seen a picture a bit earlier on of Brenner. You look at him, he looks fairly old. He was 49 years of age, so yeah, looks slightly rough, I guess, with the beard and hair. I mean, if you do like some kind of body language, facial appearance analysis, some kind of profiling, okay, they're oldish, okay, could that play a factor? Don't really know, because I wouldn't say he's vulnerable, okay, you could say he's a coward, but, he's still a threat. You can get people around that age, younger and older, who are still a threat regardless. If they've got a gun, they're dangerous. You could have an old granny in a wheelchair with an MP40 and they're still, a threat. So you've got to take that in mind. It's not always physical, I know you get like psychological type methods, but it's not always physical. They've got an object, they've got an item, that's their power. So that could be with Brenner. The way Brenner appears, as I said, rough. Maybe he doesn't look after himself that well or groom himself that well. It might just simply be because he's just doesn't care. So if he doesn't care, then he may be reckless. And if he's reckless, he doesn't think before he acts, so then bad things can happen, then it escalates and etc. At least all kinds of stuff. I don't know if there's any past history with Brenner, like from childhood, if anything happened there. I mean, depending what we can look at and what we can find, like what I did with Kenny Veach, probably could do some kind of psychological analysis to back certain things up, reinforce certain points, and maybe find out where, why, how, and when all things went wrong and out of control. You know what I'm saying? So there's that to take in mind. And yeah, I think that's about it, because I don't want to go too deep. I mean, people have recommended certain videos to look at, and I guess certain interviews. I have had a little peek at some. Unfortunately, they're like 55-minute long podcasts and stuff, and it's just a bit too dragged out. I mean, I know you can like scroll through it and skip through it, but you might miss out certain points. It can get a bit messy. It's like with when Sean did his live streams with the M Cave, and you might have been trying to find a key bit of info within it, and you got to watch the whole bloody hour or try and drag it through precisely. It just gets a little bit messy. The recent news reports about the case and the missing person, it's been kind of concise but clear to understand, which is useful. As for articles online, I have mainly avoided because they don't really help and they kind of contradict one another. You know what I'm saying? So you can leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think of this guy, Brenner, how he appears, his official past history. I mean, from my predictions, it looks like I got it right in terms of, you know, if he's got past history, he's probably reckless, and it's reinforced with other cases such as the attacking the 70-year-old and some other bits and bobs in between. As for Brenner's friends, can't remember the name of the friends because I was reading one article, I think at the start of covering this case, and it didn't give the name, it just said friend in brackets when they were questioned by police. So that doesn't really help. It makes you wonder what type of friends would associate themselves with someone like Brenner. Are the friends just as reckless? Do they share certain things in common? So they are, and they do certain stuff, you never know. Ask me this, or let me know your thoughts. When looking at Brenner, his profile, his face, how he appears, does he look like someone that uses methamphetamine, uses some form of drugs? Is he a druggie? Does he look like a druggie? Or does he look like a drug dealer? I don't know. I'm not an expert, obviously, but maybe you are, or someone is. So you can leave your thoughts down below. And yeah, we'll wrap that up for now. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.